Let's get this started. Welcome, No1 podcast. I am your host, Coach Jake, here to discuss all kinds of crazy shiz. Hope you guys are good today. Got my billionaire in the making t-shirt on. How are you, man? Did you have a good Memorial Day? We had a good one. It was kind of chill. Got to hang out with the kids and my wife, and had a nice. Well, my wife was actually gone for a majority of it, but she came back. We were together most of the day yesterday. So I hope you guys are doing good. I went and saw the Bob's Burgers movie. Anybody see that movie? Anybody see Bob's Burger? Worst fucking movie ever. Super lame. I was glad to spend the time with my kids. That was about it. I could have done something else though for those 2 hours. It was so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It's just like not worthy of a film. Not worth. Maybe I get it for a half hour, but even then, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never sat through a whole fucking episode of that shit. I have no idea what the fuck I was thinking sitting down 2 hours to. It was awful. Truly bad. Go see it. Do whatever the fuck you're gonna do. You'll never get me to watch that film ever again. So, my 2 cents. I'm just bitter because I gave up two hours of my life for that shit. So let's talk about, let's shift it a bit and talk about attitude and mindset. It's the most subtle thing and the most powerful thing. If you come in with a bad attitude, you're going to have a bad time. Your attitude dictates what your experience is going to be. Now, sometimes people have a hard time getting out of a bad attitude, right? So that has to do more with mindset training, okay? But let's talk. I'll talk a little bit about mindset today. Super duper important. But I also want to talk about attitude. So interesting weekend. Got all kinds of communication going with all my people. Young man that I coached went to a tournament, did well, but got beat by the number 1 guy, right? So he came in second, and he's so pissed. And this is how I know he's totally on path. There's a 12-year-old, okay? 12-year-old. Took, I think at a grappling tournament, took second. And he is hungry. He's pissed. He wants number 1. Right. So I definitely can understand that, and I can appreciate that, and I can admire that in a 12-year-old having that just not being happy with number 2. Right. So he has a good attitude. But, one of the things that I want to make sure is that, there's these little bromides that you get in coaching, and some of them are really fantastic. And one of them is that you either win or you learn, okay? Honestly, the only way, in my opinion, that you truly lose in the big scheme of things is if, 1, you give up, okay? If you give up, then you've lost, okay? Or 2, if you don't learn from your mistakes. It's one thing to fuck up one time, maybe even twice, okay? But you need to learn from your mistake. This is something that I think should really come back in a big way in our culture. I mean, we have a mass incarceration epidemic, right? And it's over dumb shit. How is it that we have 1/5 of the world's population, general population, but 25% of the world's prison population? There's something going on. And I think it has to do with not allowing people to learn from their mistakes. And making sure that people do learn from their mistakes and they understand the importance of such. So, anyway, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. And yes, my attitude about Bob's Burgers sucks. It does. But I learned. I will definitely never, ever, anything to do with that writer or that production team, man, I'm pretty much going to steer clear unless it gets a glowing review, because it was just a waste of my time. So I'm not mad. I learned. Dude, that was awful. And I'm here to warn you in case, if you have similar sensibilities of things as me, to just skip it altogether. Go do something else. You'll be glad that you did. Anyway, I posted a quote the other day that anxiety is just excitement with a shitty attitude. Does that resonate with you? Does that make sense what I mean when I say that? That anxiety is just excitement with a shitty attitude. What's the difference between excitement, physiologically speaking? I'm talking about not in like mentally. I'm saying physically. It's very hard to differentiate between excitement and anxiety. Heart races, breathing changes, skin gets flush, nervous energy. But I would argue that it is the attitude, it is the mental construct wrapped around that physiological event. Right? So, for example, people pay to have anxiety induced. They pay. Like there's whole industries. My wife and I are in one of them. We sell software to amusement parks. Roller coasters and those crazy drops and all those weird rides, you actually are paying to have that anxiety induced, that sensation. But because your attitude, you're excited to be there, you're looking forward to the excitement of it, your attitude is right and you enjoy the anxiety. It's called excitement, right? So look at the entire horror cinema. All the people that go to scary movies, like jump scares and shit, all that. You're paying for that, right? So it's important to realize that a lot of these negative emotions that we experience, they only get serious when we wrap them around these physiological responses. Fair? Because in different contexts, that same response is something that you love. Think about this. Think about when you're sobbing uncontrollably. You know, where you got that embarrassed, that, and you can't, like that weird breathing that happens when you're like sobbing out of control. Well, what's interesting is there's an attitude wrapped around that physiological response. But guess what? The same physiological happening where the breath gets staccato and the body starts squeezing and is involuntarily moving and you're grunting and making noises is the same as when you're laughing so hard you can't stop. Like when your face hurts or your stomach hurts. And it's that same, like, that constriction that's happening in the body, right? It's just the attitude and the context are different. So, you know, what I'm saying is that we need to understand that some of these are mere responses, right? So, Elrond Harvard, the Scientology dude, right? Total controversial character. In so many ways, kind of reminds me of parallels like Joseph Smith with the Mormons. It's just Elrond Harvard is more of an updated 20th century version of the 19th century version that Joseph Smith was cooking up. But you know, he had some interesting concepts. He was an interesting character, clearly a smart guy. Like, you know, built this gigantic religion, did all this. What people don't know about Elrond Harvard is a couple of things. One, he was actually, prior to all that, he was I think he was a rather serious occultist. That doesn't mean Satanist or anything. Come on, guys, like have a little fucking nuance. What I mean is he was studying like occult philosophy, different religions, playing with things, you know, of the ilk of like he was a contemporary of Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons was a famous occultist who ended up founding the Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL, in Pasadena. Jack Parsons Laboratory, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. Anyway, you get my point. Google him, Jack Parsons, fascinating guy. But he and Elrond were friends before Parsons died under sketchy circumstances, which is a whole interesting thing. Jack Parsons is an absolutely fascinating character to read about. He was an expert in demolitions and in bombs and things like that. And he got called as a witness on a explosion on a car that was tied to a mobster. I think it was some sort of union deal back in the 20s or 30s or something like that. And he got called in, and his testimony ended up putting this mobster away. Okay. Well, this mobster goes to prison, vows revenge on Jack Parsons, goes away for 20 years or whatever the sentence is, 10 years, I don't know. Jack Parsons becomes this wild man, super genius guy, super eccentric, gets way into the occult, writes a great book, Freedom is a Double-Edged Sword. It's a great, great book for people interested in freedom and liberty. Basically, the idea that I push, that same with Thomas Saw's, that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. Anyway, all of a sudden that gangster gets out of prison, and then there's a mysterious explosion. Note the MO of the gangster. That's what he got into jail in the first place for. It was killing people with explosion. Explosion kills Jack Parsons. Prior to his death, he and Elrond Harvard were contemporaries, friends. I think they might have even been sleeping with the same woman. I can't remember. It's been ages since I was reading all this stuff. But it's something to that they were close. And Elrond, so not only was he a student of the occult, he was also a science fiction writer, which I think informs a lot of the mythos involved in the Scientology literature. But he was also a hypnotist. He practiced, I think he was a comedy or a stage hypnotist for a minute. Interesting cat, okay? He ends up getting his shit together, wants to become a leader, a guru, whatever, starts Scientology, but he starts out with Dianetics, okay? Now, Dianetics, the big thing that they push, the thing, all these personality assessments and stuff that they do that it helps sell and get people in the upsell funnel, basically into all these expensive audits and stuff that they do, is this idea of the reactive mind, okay? And I think that's an important lesson, right? Because when we're talking about attitude, there are going to be automatic knee-jerk responses, whether they're like pain response, like you touch a hot stove and it gives you feedback, but also like emotional responses that are programmed in because of millions of years of evolution living in the jungle and having to be paranoid all the time. Well, now we don't necessarily have to be paranoid, but we create these paranoias, right? Because of the programming. We create what I call, what are known as type 2 errors, right? There's such thing as like a false positive. There's also false negatives. But these errors in perception, right? They can lead to paranoia, pareidolia, apophenia. These are all interesting concepts. But once you start reflecting on this idea of what Hubbard would call the reactive mind, or just simply your knee-jerk reactions, you can start to dissociate from them. You can start to separate and realize, I am not my reactions to things. Okay? My reactions happen through me. There's something, but this allows you to separate and decide how much emotional impact and weight you should assign to certain reactions and responses you have. For example, whether something is going to be anxiety or it's going to be excitement. You get a little distance, so you're going to say, I'm going to have this reaction no matter what. And in some contexts, I actually enjoy it so much I pay for it. For example, like my example going back to roller coasters. And easing the effect that these powerful emotions can have on you, okay? So, we all know the controversy and stuff around Elrond Harvard. And I'm not a Scientologist. It's funny, they're a very interesting group of individuals. It's no small feat to develop a worldwide religion. So, there's clearly something that all the other religions, whether it's the Catholics, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, the Muslims, whomever, right? Even the Richard Dawkins secularists, who I believe operate more under a belief system akin to religion than actual human like David Hume, empirical, rational existence. Okay. But that said, it's important to be able to create that distance between the emotion and the context so you can realize, well, this is just something happening to me and it'll be okay. Instead of being like freaked out because of the physiological response. You're not freaked out when you put yourself in this situation on purpose, like in an amusement park or a scary movie. So you should be able to maintain that same kind of control when it is induced because you're in a crowded elevator and you start having a panic attack or something. I'm not saying that you're not going to, what I'm saying is create the distance, dissociate mentally enough from it to where you realize it's not you, it's something happening to you. Okay. Now, this was something that I had to learn early on when I was a teenager and I had Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 15 and having all these gnarly surgeries and chemo and radiation. I had to learn to separate myself from my experience. I didn't even know. Does this sound weird? I don't even know. Like this could totally sound weird to everybody. Oh, we got a comment. Hey, what's up, Marco? Good to see you, brother. On YouTube. Yeah. So, one of the things that I like, but if you want to talk trash on Scientology and stuff, that's whatever. There's plenty of it out there, and that's cool. I want to say just, like even in Mormonism, there's things I like. I'm not Mormon. I lived amongst the Mormons for like 7 years in Utah and Salt Lake, and I learned a lot about the religion because of that. And there's a lot of things I actually really like about that belief system. I really, again, talking about freedom as a double-edged sword and the relationship between liberty and responsibility, and that they're two sides of the same coin. That's kind of integral to the Mormon philosophy of agency, right? That all morals is based upon this choice and that you have ultimate responsibility. And that's why you have freedom of choice. So there's a lot of great things like that, right? Like I like how they have their own social safety net that's outside of government coercion and whatnot. There's all kinds of great things like that. Well, and there's downsides too. Look, and say the Catholics too. Yeah, don't even get me started. I was raised a Catholic, right? So there are plenty of negatives. I don't need to go on and on about that because I don't want my attitude being shitty. So I'm going to talk about like another positive about let's say Scientology. There's a one of my heroes, Dr. Thomas Zaz, Szaz. You got to Google him. Brilliant man. So much integrity. Stood almost single-handedly against a lot of the pseudoscience being pushed by psychiatry that was negatively impacting patients, whether in terms of iatrogenic harm, like medical error and harm through, what's this fucking shit called? Lobotomy, or the chemical lobotomies, or electroshock, or holding people against their will without a trial. Like these are all like things that he stood up and man, he took a lot of shit. He had a lot of integrity and he got just hammered, right? Lost jobs, was ridiculed. Thing is he's been right. He passed away. I was able to give his last in-depth radio interview. That was like, for me, that's like a huge accomplishment. I mean, so few people know who he is, but very important to me in terms of intellectual history and impact on the modern world. Well, guess what? This guy was suffering and having a hard time, and he was right about his ideas that these metaphors, these medical metaphors for mental problems, were a huge threat to human welfare. That people do have mental problems, but to medicalize them is the wrong thing to do. And the lies that they built, like it's anyway, he was having a hard time getting the message out. And you know what? Who threw a ton of money and partnered with him? The Church of Scientology partnered with Thomas Zaz and created what's known as the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And it's a non-religious organization dedicated to advocating for people harmed by psychiatry. Okay. And, it was like, that was a great thing to be able to back this guy who was truly trying to save lives and whatnot, Thomas Oz. So, I think it's like life. It depends on whether you decide to look at the positives or the negatives. And it's so easy in our world to look at negative bullshit. Oh, this, that, and the other thing, and pick it apart. Okay. And sometimes it's necessary. Okay. An analysis is what that's known as, right? Is when you break things down and pick them apart. But there's so much greater things to do, like building things up. So, I want you guys to go into things with the right attitude. It is so crucial. It's so crucial for you to wake up excited to attack that fucking hill, that goal, whatever it is that you're trying to fucking get. But you're not going to get it if you're a fucking pessimist. Okay. So this is relevant in business. You're not going to be an entrepreneur, and you don't have the entrepreneur spirit if you're a pessimist. Why would you take a risk then if you believe the outcome is not going to work out? You have to believe in it. And I think this is why a lot of people fail. Okay. Not because of anything systemic or inherent in business and entrepreneurship, but because people, they might start with a great mindset, but they get discouraged, distracted, and pulled off their target. Running a marathon. I've never done it. I've run a couple 10Ks. Never run a marathon, but I'm just using it as a metaphor. Or let's use a 10K. Running a 10K, if you're not a runner, if you've never really been a runner before, it's challenging. Or a marathon is really challenging. That's quite an accomplishment. And it's hard. Most people can't do it. But you have to train, have persistence, keep showing up, work over and over and get used to it, acclimate your body, get conditioned to it, get used to it. And next thing you know, you run 25 miles or 26 miles, whatever it is, right? So while it's difficult, it's not impossible. In fact, not only is it not impossible, go look when they televise or broadcast the Boston Marathon. Look how many bajillion freaking people are out there going to run like that whole distance. Okay. So I think a lot of it is about your perspective and your attitude and making sure that everything is in alignment and congruent. Okay. Now, how do you get a good attitude? Let's say you have a bad attitude about, and it's not an overall thing. You might have a bad attitude about 9 out of 10 things, but have a good attitude about cats or about your favorite Netflix show or some shit. Okay. So you might have a great attitude about Bob's Burger and love that fucking movie. And you and I had a completely different experience. Okay. But that's just saying, like, what's the attitude? So, you got to start thinking about, like, what is, for me, the easiest way to have a good attitude is to do things that you enjoy doing. Okay. That doesn't mean doing rails of coke or staying all day online on adult websites or anything dumb like that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is there has to be something where you've got a healthy obsession. Okay. For me, I'm like totally obsessed with wrestling. Everything wrestling, I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. I started in 1978 when I was 4 years old, and I've always been involved with wrestling, whether it's pro wrestling, amateur wrestling, submission grappling, I'm everything. I'm just obsessed with it. So in that regard, that was a no-brainer for me to be able to get good at it. Because I just wanted to know, and I was like always for free. And I got so much knowledge and information because I was obsessed with it for years and years. Eventually, I started being able to provide value to other people, and people would actually exchange money for the information that I had accumulated and gathered on this subject. Okay. And that was relatively easy because I was way into it. Now, business is another obsession, but that was one that didn't start when I was young. I didn't really get into business probably until I think I must have been like 21. I didn't even care. I mean, I was a coffee shop freaking communist, one of these idiots that thinks they know a thing or two because they just repeat the bromides of, socialist or capitalist fucking thought, but they're not actually schooled in logic and non-contradictory thinking and epistemology and ontology and all that kind of stuff. That was me. And I kept losing these debates to this buddy, this roommate of mine, who's now a neurosurgeon, brilliant kid, guy. But I kept losing these debates, and I kept feeling like what I was concerned about was beating him in a debate instead of coming to the truth. And so I constantly was losing. He was only concerned in the truth and things that could be proven with facts. And that led him to his conclusions. And I was fighting reality, and I didn't realize it until I finally had that aha moment, got real, and I was like, oh my God, he's fucking right. He's fucking right. Oh my God. And I started looking at the arguments from a completely different perspective. And these perspectives that I was so fighting against, I started to adopt because he was fucking right. And as I started to understand these ideas so my love of business actually started in the death of my love for like coffee shop intellectual bullshit. When I finally got hammered and just I couldn't win these arguments, I had to concede eventually. Despite I was willfully fighting it too. I was like fighting the universe, man, fighting facts. But I eventually had to concede that they were right. And once I did that, oh hey, what we got some people here. I'm missing all the comments because I'm bullshitting too much. Marco says, practice positivity, see the upside. Yeah, I mean, so much of it is about your perspective and the choice that you make. We also got Justin Padilla, the champ. What's up, brother? Thank you for the value, coach. Got to go. Well, good to see you, homie. Anyway, because I had this wake-up call, I started looking into business. The first pro business book I picked up was a recommendation from this guy called Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal by Ayn Rand. I was 21. Blew my fucking mind. Blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, these are actually really good moral, ethical arguments in favor of this system that I've been taught to hate through public school level of education, right? And I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. And I had already been turned on to Friedrich Nietzsche because I was a fan of The Doors and Jim Morrison read a lot of Nietzsche. And so I started reading that when I was 15, 16. And I really was like, man, this guy's smart too. And then all of a sudden, Ayn Rand stuff came in, started fucking mixing with it, right? So now I'm starting to see the complete other side where I had a bad attitude of the other side before, but now I'm like excited. I'm like absorbing everything. I'm like, give me more. So all that shifted was my attitude. Okay. And because of that, I started to get so excited about business because for me, business, this is where the root of my attitude for business comes from and why I'm like always promoting it. Like I love wrestling and I love business. Okay. I love grappling. I love business. But the root of my love of business, which I have since 21, I'm going to be 49. So what is that? Like 30 years or something, right? 28 years or whatever. I've just been studying this shit. I got my master's degree in financial math. I went deep down the rabbit hole, but the reason is that I was so excited that I actually found a way to express what I feel is a fantastic moral system, which I think wraps in full here around belief systems, religion, attitude, and mindset that we're talking about here, right? So for me, business is an ethical belief system because for me, which started with Rand and then got developed as I went into other maybe more rigorous or more accepted, whatever you want to call it, philosophers in the classical liberal or libertarian perspective, guys like Mises, guys like Hayek, guys like Nozick, maybe even a little bit of Rothbard, Robert Anton Wilson, all these libertarian thinkers, right? And I really started understanding that, there's two ways for human society to exist, right? If I want something, I can either steal it or take it from you by force, or we can voluntarily trade. And of those, trade seems like the most ethical system. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't unethical people. There are. By and large, I don't think, again, and I'm an optimist. I think most people are good. The research supports that. Only 1 out of 100 people are considered, by the markers or whatever, how you describe a psychopath or a sociopath. Somebody who lacks empathy. Most everybody else empathizes, understands other people's positions. Now, I think that there has been a lot of factionalization, like factions created because of the internet and identity politics, where people get tribal about shit, right? But again, like I go back to these libertarian idealists about the importance of the philosophy of individualism and judging people on their individual merits, not because of some arbitrary grouping based on genitalia or skin pigment or where you happen to be born or what religion your family is or whatever, like based on you as an individual. That to me is at the core of business, and why I'm actually excited, why I have like a freaking crazy, awesome, positive attitude about it and defend it and have no problems defending it to other people. Whereas other people are like, oh, business, yes, and it's the Monopoly Man cartoon caricature of the situation and whatnot. And I understand that, but I think that's a caricature. And I don't think that actually represents the ethical system that I am talking about. I'm not talking about gigantic corporations that use people like Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump or Obama or Biden to make laws that benefit their company. I think that's unfair. I don't think that's a fair practice. I think there should be in our government, if it was perfect, right, that there would not only be a separation of church and state, which has worked out well, I think, but there should be a complete separation of business and state. Like no special favors, no revolving doors between the Treasury and Goldman Sachs or the Fed and any Vanguard or any of these big groups. No, I mean, that's idealistic. Not much that I can do about it other than just talk about the ideas on my little podcast here or whatever. But the point is that you have to go in to whatever endeavor it is that you want to succeed in with a deep conviction about what it is you're going to do. And that's attitude, right? It's important to have a good attitude. Oh, we've got a comment here. Demigoon, do you know who Curran Jacobs is? And are you aware of the film he's working on, For the Love of Catch? And are you helping him in any way? Yeah, I know Curran. I've known Curran for years, actually now, which is crazy. Started out, we didn't know each other, and it was a little tumultuous, but got to know each other, and he's turned out to be a good dude. I've had him on my wrestling podcast, Do It Again podcast. You can find it on Anchor. Or go to scientificwrestling.com and just hit the podcast thing and find the interview with he and I. I'm really excited. I guess he interviewed me for that film, and I'm going to be in it. But I haven't seen it. Excited for it to come out. So hope that answered your question. But that's another situation where attitudes could shift. Like he and I didn't like each other, and now we're friends. So the context and the attitude that you bring to a situation can radically change things. So if you have a bad attitude, you have to ask yourself, whose responsibility is that? Is it society's fault? Oh, the minimum wage. Oh, Trump, Biden, blah, blah. It's never your fucking responsibility. You need to get the fuck out of here with that shit, because that is just, you're going to lose with that attitude. It's a bad attitude. You're not taking responsibility and solving problems that need to get done. And, dude, like, as passionate as I am for both wrestling and business, dude, there's a lot of stuff involved that I don't fucking want to do. And I do it because I have a good attitude. It's like doing dishes, man. Most people don't want to do dishes. I'm not like clamoring to do dishes. Like, there's definitely other things I would choose to do, but they need to get done. So you might as well, what do they say? Whistle while you work. Put on a book on tape. Listen to some music. Do something. Have a conversation while you do these things, right? So anyway, I hope this helps you guys today. I've got a crazy day ahead of me still. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. And, as ever, if there's anything that I can do to help you, I'm here for you. All you got to do, just you can DM me on social media. You can email me. If you go to thales.coaching.com or no1coaching.com, whichever one, they both go to the same place. There's a form. You can just set up a time. There's a button to set up a time for 15 minutes on the phone. I'm here to help you. Again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not your best friend. I'm a coach, so I am concerned in getting results. I'm a pretty damn good problem solver. And my focus is really on grappling, particularly catch can, rule set, and business development. Okay, so if I can help you, if your business is suffering, I just signed a great deal today. Super excited. Going to help a company with their business development. In a year, they're going to blow up. I'm helping another company do the same thing right now, and I am here to do that with you guys. So there's only so much of me to go around, but you can get in the queue, or at least we can get a conversation going. Guys, you definitely want to check out. I just released like 2 days ago another value add to the affiliate program, the affiliate fight gym program for scientific wrestling. You can read all about the offer at scientificwrestler.com. I really would recommend that you take a minute and look it up, scientificwrestler.com. So not only are you, this is for fight gym owners, right? People that are like wanting to increase their business, offer a curriculum that's fantastic for retention and to attract students, and to have a really fantastic grappling system that wins. We just got our 4th affiliate. That would be going to Gil Olivas down in Phoenix, Arizona. He's been with us for a couple years in the coaching program and jumped on board the affiliate program just today. So I'm super excited, way thrilled to have him on board. And congratulations to him, because he's the guy who makes that video. Maybe you've seen it on Instagram or Facebook for Scientific Wrestling, talking about what our catch wrestling program has done for his gym and retention and whatnot. So it's kind of a no-brainer that he signed on, but I'm really, really amped. In addition, what you get with that is you get 2 tuition paid in full coaching catch certifications. That's a $10,000 value right there out the gate. $10,000 that would cost you, okay? And it's cost other people. It's $5,000 per certification training, and I'm getting it too. $10,000 right out the gate. Then you get to resell everything I've been selling. So all of Billy Robinson's DVDs, his online course, all of this stuff on scientific wrestling, you get to resell it, and you get up to a 50% commission on it. Meaning I'm not taking the money. I still have to pay out 50% to the other athletes, but you're keeping the rest. You get licensed to be a promoter for both King of Catch Wrestling to make money and to get attention to your gym, and Shoot Pro Wrestling, which does the same thing. But what I also added, I don't even know why I didn't do this in the first place, but I'm just sitting here trying to think, how can I make this freaking irresistible, like no brainer, like somebody would be absolutely stupid not to do this. In addition to the 2 certs, the coaching cast certs, in addition to the resale rights, in addition to the promoting licenses for the King Catch wrestling tournaments. Again, Coach and Catch, only curriculum co-developed by Billy Robinson and endorsed by Billy Robinson. King Catch rules and Shoe Pro, because they're derivative of King and Catch, only rule set co-developed and approved by Carlo Gotch for Catch as Catch Can in the modern game. So super excited. But I added now, talk to my buddy, my first student, and arguably the number one mace fitness trainer on the planet, Rick Brown. And he was my first student. Super proud of the guy, what he's accomplished. But he and I are going to team together, and once a year we're going to do a mace certification. So you can also teach mace and conditioning for Catch as Catch Can, the Hindu squats, the Hindu push-ups, all of the traditional exercises, the Billy Robinson stretching routine, all that stuff. We're going to create a certification so you can take that back to your gym as well, having another offer that you guys can put out there. So please, what's Marco say? Massive value. Yes, sir. Thank you. Trying. And I'm going to keep adding value. So, dude, all of that, the first 8 people, the early adopters, which Marco is one, now Gil is one. We've got 2 in Colorado with V10 training, Earwood, Vicious Vern has got one. And then Paul Garcia up at Sterling, Garcia Sports Center. They've got the other. So there's 4. But the first 8, half of which are gone, so there's only 4 left. You know, you can do the math. The first 8, well, there's only 4 left, get a $2,000 discount. So it's $8,000 for the complete affiliation, Fight Gym affiliation. Plus, in addition, you get 6 months of business development coaching from me. So I am going to get on your ass and I'm going to give you lots of great ideas and lots of positive encouragement, but I'm going to keep you accountable and we're going to actually get you making money. My goal with this program is ROI, return on your investment. Okay. And after those next 4 gone, it goes up to 10 grand. Still an incredible deal. Only 100 are going to be available at that level. Once I hit 100, it's going to go to 15 grand. And then I think I'm only going to do another 50 after that. And then that's it. So if you're one of the next 4 and they're going, I've only had it out for 2 months and 4 are gone. So that means if we just extrapolate that, you probably got 2 months till that $2,000 discount goes away. Just putting it out there for you. I am dedicated to this. I think this is going to help my mission to get every man, woman, and child on earth involved with the sport of scientific wrestling as either a fan, athlete, coach, or a promoter. That this is the vehicle for this. This is an unbelievable situation. So, guys, if I can help you, whether that's on your own business, help you develop it, or if it's in the grappling game and have your own business there, or coaching just with the catch stuff, I'm here for you. So I appreciate you, and we'll talk tomorrow. Probably not the same time because I still have not settled on a regular time, but I will definitely be. I'm here every day during the week. So I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk real soon.